5, we had a lot of close games. We played 4 playoff teams. We played the Cardinals, the Ravens, the Browns, and the Rams. Those teams are all going to probably make the playoffs. And, if Kyle Allen played that game against the Browns, we probably win that game. And that Giants game we should have won. So let's just say we get one of those 2 wins. We're at 3-4, and we're, I guess, tied for first place in the division. And, I'm not too upset with that 2-5. The only thing I am upset about is the quarterback position. Just, the whole year this year really wasn't about making the playoffs, which we actually might do now, but it's more about how Dwayne Haskins was developing. And, if he was our franchise guy, and we found out 4 weeks into the season that he isn't probably isn't going to be our franchise guy. And, we have Kyle Allen, but he's not probably going to be the long-term answer. So we pretty much have to hit the reset button. And, we could go after someone in free agency, Cam Newton, Dak Prescott, whatever you want to do. And then if you go to the draft, you set your team back a couple of years, because it takes a long time to win with a young quarterback.
All right, I'll take next. So, similar to what Pedro said, it's just like I went into the season somewhere between 5-11, 8-8, developmental year, not just Haskins, but like everybody. The reason we threw Troy Apke out there to start, the reason we're starting Cameron Curl rather than going to get a free agent. Terry McLaurin is pretty much our only certified receiver. And then even like transitioning from last year, if you think about it, who we started out with Dontrell and Terry McLaurin, and at a certain point, Steven Sims was hurt. Terry McLaurin was the only similar receiver from last year that was like a relatively dependable target once Steven Sims got hurt. So it was just all kinds of chaos with that. The reason we got rid of AP to move Antonio Gibson and J.D. McKissick up the depth chart so they can get more touches. It was just a developmental year, so I didn't have high expectations. After the Philly game, I was like, okay, maybe I didn't really have us winning that game. So I was like, maybe this season could be something a little bit special, better than what I thought it would be. And then we all came back down to earth eventually anyway. But just like Pedro said, we played good teams. And the rest of our schedule, other than somewhere near that last 4-game stretch with like the Seahawks, Steelers, and the 49ers, it's a pretty favorable schedule. So you never know what happens. Me personally, I'm in the boat that wants a quarterback, and I feel like these quarterbacks coming out of this draft, me personally, I feel like they won't take like a year or 2 to be ready. Maybe they will, but we can just go and get somebody in free agency for them to learn behind. And Matthew Stafford, Cam Newton, whatever name you want to throw out there. Some people are saying trade for Sam Darnold. So me personally, whatever scenario includes taking one of these top 4 QBs, my happiest scenario for me.
Okay. I see all the people in the stream right now. Thank you guys all for joining. I see King Sean. I see Sean, Yuki, Am Hunter, of course, the guy that always comments on every single video. I appreciate that as always. Some new people, some of my friends from college, Nathan. I see you. Noah, I see you as well. So, Corey, what do you think? What do you think about the start?
So I had a little bit of ambition for this season. I'm not gonna lie. I had like a 7-9 win season. Although that came crashing down to earth because there was a lot of holes in this offense. It seemed the scheme has been like, we talk about AP, and I've always said this, and I try not to focus on too much because us as Washington fans have a bad habit of crying over spilled milk of people who aren't here anymore. So I'm like, Scott Turner, he's learning his way around it. He had a dry run in Carolina. The Ron Rivera cancer situation that kind of threw a couple of knives into the drawer right there for us as well. Carmen getting hurt. I don't think we'd have this deficiency of wide receiver because we saw what Kelvin was doing towards the end of last season. The defense has been impressive. Outside of the Cleveland game, when I think they gave up a couple of opportunities, but that was just a bad game overall. They've played competitive ball at times. I know that the timeout issue has been kind of big like for people like me, I'm like, use your timeouts, right? If you're trying to, Ron's theme is learning to win, right? So if you're trying to learn to win, why don't you set up situations? You talk about quizzes and tests and everything like that. But 2-5. I thought this team could have been 3-4 at the bye week and then really hit their stride going down the stretch. But as far as I'm concerned, this is still a bad team.
Yeah.
It's 2-5. I don't think beating the lowly Cowboys, because it seems like we've all got a shot in the arm after we beat the lowly Cowboys. And I'm just like, we need to want more. And like I said, I don't think Kyle Allen is that dude. He has never given me any impression that he is a dude that can lead your franchise. So we've got more questions than answers. We're going to need a new quarterback. We're going to need a left tackle, solidify and also solidify the skill position as well. But AG though, y'all, that boy bad. Dubs Gibson, man, he's bad. He is bad.
I know all of us, like, going into the season, thought that Antonio Gibson had all the potential and stuff, but it's just great to see him actually put it on the field. And like every single week he progresses to the point where he is now, where, I mean, he could get you 120 yards on the ground. And then if Scott Turner actually uses him correctly, could catch passes out of the backfield. But in terms of how I feel about the 2-5 start, I am a little bit down on it in the fact that, like, I thought, like Corey, maybe we could have been 3-4. But ultimately, like, my season prediction was between 5 or 7 wins, and I think that's pretty reasonable right now. I think the NFC East division winner would probably win 6 or 7 games. So I think it's definitely within range. The defense actually has been better than I thought. I think all of us knew that it had all the talent in the world every single year. We thought it had all the talent to be a top 10 defense, but never seemed to be that. And for the first time this year, in the last 2.5 years, it's actually performing up to par. And Kendall Fuller, the Hokie, my guy, is balling out. And that's great to see, because I know we all did not want to trade him for Alex Smith like earlier, right, 2 years ago. But he came back, he came home, and he's balling out. And he's been a lockdown corner ever since. Antonio Gibson, like Corey mentioned, been balling. Glad to see that. Terry McLaurin just got the C on his chest now. Is going to be one of the captains for the team. This man's every single game. You can tell by the amount of sweat that he like pours out every single game. He just puts it all out on the field and gives it his all every single game. And we need more of those players. And I believe we will get more of those players in the draft. And we'll discuss that later in the stream. But I think we have a lot of young talent. Chase Young is coming along. We have Cole Holcomb, who just returned from injury. I think we're good. I don't think we are better than what a lot of people think, I guess, because of the fact that we beat the Cowboys. And they're right now, a lot of people mention this thing, they're pretty much a heartless team. Like they don't know what to do right now. It's Dallas, right? They really are in a muck right now. But I think we can only go up from here is what I'm trying to say, I guess. But I see some more comments. Kendall's a beast, of course. Ronald Darby, that's someone who's sort of also returned home and has been balling ever since. Who else? Kendall, top 5 corner. Yeah, I mean, stats are showing it right now. I know not a lot of people play Madden, but he's like an 89. That's top 6 or 7 in corners. So, Protec, yeah, Rico. But I guess going on to the next question, who do you guys think is the team MVP at this point in the season?
Ooh, that's tough. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm first, so I kind of think I'm stalling to, get my answer. But I mean, you kind of have to say offense, 100%. It's not even. I mean, I would say Terry, not even close. But then I just thought Morgan Moses. He's been. I'm not gonna say he's been playing better than Terry. Terry's my offensive MVP, but Morgan Moses, he's been playing pretty solid football. He's been, playing through those injuries, and he's one of the, leaders of this team. So offensively, definitely, Terry McLaurin. You could throw in Morgan Moses, a couple other players, but I think you got to go Terry. And then I know this isn't the question. I'm just giving it an offensive and defensive because it's too close for me. Yeah. On defense, I'm gonna say I think Chase Young has been better than Montez Sweat, but just because Montez has played all the games, every game, and he's had more production, I'm gonna go Montez. But if you just look at the numbers, sure, Montez Sweat has a lot more sacks than Chase Young, but he's not going up against nearly the amount of tight end chips and everything. Like I've been listening to Chris Cooley's film breakdown on every week on Chase Young, and he says he's the best player in the field every week. So I think I'll go with Montez Sweat just because he has the most production, but it's close between those two.
That was a great distinction too. I like the fact that you pointed out that, like, even though Chase Young doesn't have the stats, he's actually been, what he's doing is helping everybody else look better. So, it's hard to say Chase Young over Montez Sweat when Chase Young doesn't have great stats. It's all impact. It's all, teams have to game plan for him. Because remember, the Eagles game in the first half, they didn't game plan for him. They single blocked him. And ever since the second half of that Eagles game, everybody we've gone against, the Cardinals, he was injured a couple of games. When he came back against, I believe, the Giants, the Cowboys, he's been getting double teamed since, or at least, like Pedro said, chipped by like a tight end or a running back. So it's just like, you want to give him MVP, but at the same time, Montez Sweat is beating the guy in front of him. Even though he's not getting double teamed as much as Chase Young, he's putting up the stats. I mean, he has some crazy highlights of him chasing down guys 40 yards down the field, extra effort. I mean, he's faster than the corners that weigh at least 50 pounds less than him. And then the crazy chase down sacks where the quarterback is rolling out. Montez Sweat comes from the other side, chases him down. So, yeah, I agree with Pedro on that. And then, of course, obviously, offense is Terry McLaurin. I do appreciate the fact that we do need to appreciate Morgan Moses more. I mean, I think fans will finally get it if Morgan Moses were to miss a game. But it's obviously Terry McLaurin. I feel like Antonio Gibson will one day get there, but he has been a little inconsistent. His patience and vision is not there yet, but his athleticism is crazy. And Scott Turner just needs to use them better. But, yeah, easily Terry McLaurin on offense. Yeah, I don't even have to speak about him.
So one little thing I just totally forgot about him, and still sticking with Montez Sweat, but honorable mention, Kendall Fuller, got 4 picks. He just hasn't played. He didn't play in the first 2 games, so that's why I got Montez.
And for me, Kendall Fuller, like, he's played really well, but at least 2 of those picks were just, right place, right time. It wasn't like he had extremely sticky coverage. So big shouts out to Kendall Fuller. I mean, I think he's tied in the NFL for most picks, along with, I forgot his name, in Miami, and he's played like half the game. So, I mean, yeah, thank you. Big shouts out to Kendall Fuller, but at the same time, I feel like Montez Sweat and Chase Young are technically putting in more work, even if the stats don't exactly show it.
Corey, what do you have to say?
Yeah, I will go with Terry on offense. That's a way and beyond. And like Rico said, Morgan Moses. I mean, my goodness, we haven't heard his name all season. He has shored up his game. I think a lot of that has to do with coaching, though. John Matsko coming in there outside of Bill Callahan. And I think that we've seen that improvement in him. Y'all realize he earned Dwayne Haskins captain's patch after Dwayne was benched. So they're seeing that out of him, and I'm seeing it too. I say, if I don't hear you on the offensive line, that's a good thing. Unless I'm hearing you kick out and blowing somebody up, I don't want to hear you. On the defensive side of the ball, it's a tie between Montez and Kendall. And I say it's a tie because Kendall's interceptions have led to scoring opportunities for this team. I think like 3 of his 5. Y'all think about the Baltimore game, that could have been even uglier if it wasn't for Kendall Fuller's picks, because 10 points were scored off of that. And I think against the Giants, did we score on that drive too? Did we at least get 3 out of that?
Even if we didn't, the Giants were in the red zone. So yeah.
Right. So you took away
points.
Yeah. Exactly. So and I mean, he picked off RG3. Who doesn't love that, right? Montez Sweat is all effort. He doesn't take plays off.
Yep.
I've seen Chase. I love Chase. I think he's going to be great. And I think what he's doing for this team is great. Chase has taken some plays off a couple of times. And I'm just like, whoa, wait, man. Like, what you doing, brother? You could have got Carson Wentz. He could have had 3 sacks against Carson Wentz. So, that's why I say Montez is my MVP on the defensive side of the ball, and Kendall as well, because if you're sacking quarterbacks and you're taking away possessions from the opposing offense, you're putting your team in a better situation when I guess we all can agree the rookie of the year right now, midseason, is not Antonio Gibson, but is Chase Young. So, he, like I said, I said this in the offseason. I said Montez was going to have more sacks than Chase just because of what he creates. So, but Montez is all effort, and people, wasn't his health a question? They had issue with his heart and stuff. That dude's got more heart than half that team. So
all of you guys, like, you brought up some good players that definitely are up there in terms of like team MVP. And King Sean, I don't think Corey's hating on Chase. It's a valid point. I mean, even Nick Bosa last year took some plays off. Like all the best pass rushers take plays off occasionally. But I mean, I
feel
wasn't
like
thinking
Chase Young will get better with that once he conditions more. Sorry to cut you off, but yeah, I feel like when he gets into his second year, like what Montez Sweat is in now, that will improve.
You're gonna learn, that's not an indictment on him. That's just him as a rookie, him having to realize that this ain't Ohio, this isn't Wisconsin, Nebraska, or Northwestern you're playing against. You're playing against the best in the world right there, not the best in the Big Ten. So it's two different things. He'll learn that, and I'm confident that he will. He's an impact player. It's no doubt about it, y'all.
Yeah. I mean, once again, I agree. I wasn't really thinking of this question in terms of like offensive versus defensive. I was just thinking of like team MVP. But I mean, I think it's Terry. I don't even think it's close, honestly, because of the fact that Terry commands so much attention week in and week out on that offense, but he keeps producing no matter the quarterback. I don't know how many quarterbacks he has had now, 4 maybe, 4 or 5. I'm not sure, but
I think he's caught 5 within his first 12 games starting, somewhere around there. Like, that's crazy.
It's insane, and he just keeps producing. And once again, just gives it his all every single week, every single play, let alone every single week. And until Antonio Gibson sort of came along the last couple games, it really was just the Terry McLaurin show on offense. And I just think it isn't even close in terms of overall team MVP, but on defense, I'll probably give it to Montez Sweat for some of the same reasons that Corey just pretty much expounded upon, in the sense that he hasn't really taken plays off. He's been all over the field every single week. He didn't miss a couple games or one game because of injury like Chase Young. And Chase Young, I think, will be that superstar on that defense for the foreseeable future. But I just think at this point, as I predicted, I know many others predicted coming into the season, Montez Sweat is having the bigger season, and he's pretty much been the guy on defense producing week in and week out. Kendall Fuller is also a good pick, although, he did miss a couple games to start the season, so might have to take him out there. But, I see the comments are just coming on now. Antonio Gibson, of course. I just think he has been a little inconsistent, like Rico said, and he did have that great game a couple weeks back against the Cowboys, but it is against the Cowboys. It is against a lowly team, so have to consider that.
I think with the Antonio Gibson thing, I think it's not him, it's his it's the utilization of him.
Sure.
That's exactly what that is. I think that is, because when he touches the ball, he makes magic happen. But we finally saw, you give him the ball 20 times, what does he do? Right? So not 13, 12 carries a game. That's not going to win you ball games with him. He's got to get that. He's got to get those touches, man.
Yeah.
Especially since, like, my problems with him are patience and vision. Even the vets like Adrian Peterson at this point admits, like, it takes a while to get into a rhythm in a game. Like, you need to get a few carries to get a feel for how your offensive line is blocking, how the defense is playing against you, to know exactly which holes to take. And, with them switching in and out for J.D. McKissick within one drive, it's hard for any of them to get a real rhythm.
Yeah, like, it's just with Gibson, for me, it's inconsistency with Scott Turner, because he'll have. I mean, I think the carries besides last game were pretty consistent. They were too low, but they're pretty inconsistent, or they're pretty consistent, 13, 14, around that range. But the passes, he would have one game where he has like 7 targets, and then the last game he had 1 target and 1 thing on the running game. I don't know about you guys. I don't want to see Peyton Barber get any, like maybe 1, 2 carries a game or 3 at max. But I mean, J.D. McKissic's been balling. Like Chris Cooley said, he's the best back on our team, and I don't know if I agree with that, but I think he's been pretty solid. And you can't let Barber get double the carries that he has gotten. That's what Barber got last week. I think McKissic needs to be getting in that 8 runs a game range, and Gibson in that 15 plus range a game. Barber, I don't need to see any more carries from him.
Yeah, that was definitely frustrating. I remember just saying like drive after drive, Peyton Barber would start off the drive, and ultimately like Antonio Gibson, J.D. McKissic would be like in for a couple of plays, but then like the next drive, Peyton Barber would start it off. And yeah, I don't see him, and I know a lot of us don't see him as anything more than just like short yardage sort of guy, and the team just keeps trotting him out there on first down as if like it's 1st and 2 or something, and that's pretty annoying. But yeah, Pedro, I definitely agree there. Tony Gibson and J.D. McKissic should both get more reps, both out of the backfield, through the run game and also in the pass game.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, the trade deadline just passed as well. What do you guys make of the inactivity by this team? And you think we should have been buyers, sellers? What do you guys think?
So the thing with me is like, I would have liked us to make moves. I would have liked us to sell a couple players, possibly go after someone. But the thing is, if you look at the deals every year, like, the trade deadline in the NFL, it just isn't what it is in the NBA, MLB. Like, I looked at, a chart, or not a chart, but a tweet with every year. And like last year, there was 2 deals on the, last day of the deadline. Like, it usually doesn't happen much. But I would have, hoped to, maybe trade someone that you could have gotten late round value for, like Ryan Anderson. I would have liked to see what you could have gotten from him. If you could have gotten a 6th or a 7th, I would have done it, because he's not going to be here next year. I mean, he's not going to be here next year. He's not going to want to be here next year, because look who's playing in front of him. He doesn't have any chance of being a starter at all. Like, he's not a great fit on this defense. I mean, I think he can be a solid player in this league. I don't think it's on this team. And you have Kerrigan, you have Nate Orchard, you have James Smith-Williams, some other guys that you can, that can replace Ryan Anderson. So I would have tried to get something for him, and maybe you use that pick to go after a veteran wide receiver. But it looks like a lot of teams weren't really shopping their guys. Like, I would have maybe looked at getting Ross for a 7th round pick, but it looks like they want to keep him for the rest of the year. So I'm fine with what we did. At the end of the day, not many teams made deals. And yeah, I mean, we'll see about Haskins, what happens with him. We didn't get really much interest. And, you're not really – who wants to trade for a developmental quarterback in the middle of in the middle of the season? That's the thing that's going to happen in January, February, March, April, not in the middle of the season. That's when you're going to get the most value for him. Usually you're going to get at the best value for a player at the trade deadline and the draft. But I think with Haskins, it's going to be in the offseason. So overall, I'm okay with what we did in the trade deadline.
Yeah, I like the fact that you brought up like Ryan Anderson. More than likely, like a lot of people think that we don't want him, but you have a good point. He may not want to come back here, especially since like he was more effective last year. Especially like after Ryan Kerrigan got hurt, he started dominating because we were in a 3-4. He's not built to be a 4-3 defensive end. I thought he may make a switch to maybe Sam or some form of outside linebacker as we move to the 4-3, but I guess he couldn't. And he's just not big enough. He's not built like a Chase Young or a Montez Sweat. They just seem like they're double his size, double his strength. He can't hold the edge in a 4-3 defense. He needs to be in a 3-4, so he'll more than likely leave for agency for a 3-4 team. And then, and then I feel similar to Pedro as far as the trade deadline with the activity or the lack of it. My point of view on it is that, you know, if we could have gotten reasonable value for guys like maybe a Ryan Kerrigan, but again, nobody's going to be willing to give us anywhere near the value that I would be willing to give them up for. Because I think Ryan Kerrigan at most could have gone for a 6th after the trade that the Seahawks made. And I'm not giving up Ryan Kerrigan for anything less than, the very least a 3rd. I wanted a 2nd or higher. So it's just like there was nowhere to really meet any realistic value expectations, any real, any real trade speculation. So it was just, honestly, I expected us to kind of just go quiet on it. And just like Pedro said, great points that most of the time things don't happen by the trade deadline of football anyway. We're not the NBA. We're not the MLB.
Yeah, I mean, there is inactivity across the league on Tuesday, but yeah. Go ahead, Corey.
I said it from the jump. I didn't think that we were going to do anything. We shouldn't have done anything. You see what you got, see what you have. Ron Rivera is notorious for taking care of in-house people. So does that mean he takes care of Ryan Kerrigan? But obviously, I think that Ryan Anderson is going to be gone. But what were you going to get out of him? That's the one thing everybody had been talking about. Trade. I'm not saying any of you guys, but we had talked. A lot of people had said something about trading. We need trade. What are you willing to give up to get on the opposite side? We talk about trading away our assets, but people are like, bring in John Ross, bring in this, bring in that. What were we willing to give up? They don't want our players. We were going to give you one of the best defensive players in our franchise's history, and y'all still didn't want to give anything up. And I'm like, Rico, I wouldn't give him up for anything less than a 3 or a 2, and nobody's going to pay that. It's pretty much what I thought. And now with the COVID rules, right? Mm-hmm. I didn't think we were going to do anything anyway, because if they wanted to make a move, they probably would have had to make a move like last Tuesday, because why would you trade for somebody? It was perfect for them because it was the bye week, right? So they had that 5-day window that they could have went in there. So when that passed, I was like, nothing's going to happen. So I say you ride or die with what you got, because like you said, you're learning to win. Yeah. So that means you got to learn with what you got and moving forward. So, it is what it is.
Yeah. I mean, you guys all make fair points. Burgundy Gold fan all day. I see you. Thanks for joining. AM Hunter. Burgundy Gold fan. We could have traded away Daniel Snyder. I don't know about that. That's a little bit of a reach there, but one day I don't know. One day he'll sell the team. We'll see.
I don't think the Grim Reaper is a GM in the NFL. So
yeah. He might be a GM behind closed doors, though. I feel like he has some influence, but no, you guys all made great points. I also am someone who actually agrees with the idea of standing pat, they didn't make any moves. I do worry, out of all the moves they potentially could have made, I do worry about the Dwayne Haskins lack of trade, I guess, in the sense that what is his future here in Washington? Is the remainder of the season just for the team to sort of improve while he sits on the bench and he just watches, and then next season we do this whole thing all over again? Or will he be traded in the offseason? That's just a lingering question that I still have, and probably will still have until the start of next year. I don't know, but I agree with the fact that they didn't trade Ryan Kerrigan. I thought Ryan Kerrigan, personally, I would have been happy with a 4th-round pick, just because of the fact that he is getting up there in age. He is 33 years old, or about to be 33. I thought Seattle or Green Bay might have traded for him, or one of the teams that need an edge rusher, and they didn't. So we pretty much have him, and I kind of like it too, because of the fact that we have 2 young pass rushers in Montez Sweat, Chase Young. They can still learn under the tutelage of Ryan Kerrigan and sort of progress as the season goes along, because we still have 9 games left. But Ryan Anderson, Fabian Moreau, maybe those guys are gone after the season. I don't think we're going to extend them, even with the boatload of cap room that we have. But Nathan, I see your comment here. Do you think Kerrigan has the intangibles that make him worth keeping? What do you guys think? At least past the next 9 games.
Yeah, I mean, I can take this one for you. Yeah, I mean, I think absolutely. Ron talked about in his press conference on what was it, Monday, that that's why he's here, is what he does, how he shares his thoughts with the younger guys. So that's I think that's awesome. I think that's why Ryan Kerrigan's still here, because if you think about it, if you take Ryan Kerrigan out of this locker room,
Yeah.
who's your leader? Like your veteran leader? That's the question. It's nothing but Ryan Kerrigan. Thomas Davis, yeah, he's been in the league 15 years. He can tell them about the league, but Ryan can tell these guys about Washington, being a player here, and how to handle yourself with the media, with Mr. Snyder and people up front, or Miss Linda that's at the front desk and stuff, or that. So that's why I think his leadership kept him here. And he also, I mean, he's got 4 sacks. He's been good in situations. He's been a great situational football player for this team. I mean, he was in witness protection for a long time, but when you needed a sack, he got you a sack this year so far.
Okay. Do you guys have any other thoughts on that?
Yeah, I basically echo the same sentiments. I mean, he just brings things that nobody else can. Just like a great point, on the Warpath said that, just to even teach you how to talk to Dan Snyder in a certain way. I mean, it's random little things even beyond football that he can help with in the locker room. Not just giving a great halftime speech, but just how to operate. Good point in Washington specifically, not like Thomas Davis, who's been in the NFL forever, but he hasn't been in Washington forever. So yeah, basically, I mean, there's nothing else we can really add on the Warpath set. He basically hit it right on the nail.
Help people navigate the DMV. Another thing, I mean, underrated thing, yeah.
This is.
But this is, I didn't even think about him going to the stream, but this is actually a good question. What do you guys think about Jonathan Allen's contract situation? I know we picked up his option in the offseason, and I believe next year will be his last season here, at least on this contract. You guys think we'll keep him long-term with the depth that we have on that D-line? Or do you think that money would be better served at the wide receiver position, at the tight end position? What do you guys think?
So this is one of the biggest questions I have with this team. What are they going to do about the defensive line? Because if you look at it, I mean, Chase Young and Montez Sweat, if they continue to, do what we think they're going to do, Pro Bowl players at the very least, that's going to be, I mean, I think Chase Young's, I mean, what was it? Joey Bosa was at like 26 mil a year. So Chase, by the time he's up, that's going to be like 30 something. And then Montez is probably going to be, he's not going to be as much as Chase, but he's still going to be expensive. Deron Payne's going to probably be pretty expensive. Jonathan Allen's going to be expensive. And you got Matt Ioannidis and Tim Settle. So I really think that one guy is going to be left out. And I really think it's going to come down to, Payne and Allen. I think it's going to come down to one of those, and it could be a 49er situation, which I said this offseason that this could happen, is that they trade one of those guys on the last year or the year before of their deal for a first. I don't think a first. We'll see. I have no idea what the value is, but, the 49ers traded DeForest Buckner for a first-round pick this season. So I still don't know, what's going to happen. But that it's really interesting to see what happens with this D-line, because you want to keep them together, but it's going to be almost impossible with the contract. I guess the question, what would I give for Allen? I mean, it's hard to tell. I mean, because he's an interior guy.
Yeah.
I'm really
not.
All the stats. Yeah, I'm not sure what the contract situation would be. Definitely it would be double digits. I think probably in that 12. I don't know. It's tough to. I don't know what the. I think what was it? I know one. I think the D tackle for the Packers got like a 13 mil deal this year. Nose tackle. What?
Kenny Clark.
I think so. So probably a little less than that. I'm not sure. His deal's coming up in about a year or so. So that might be more. Could be less with the pandemic going on. But yeah, what do you? I mean, it's kind of a question for you guys. What do you think's going to happen with that D line? Because it's going to be hard to keep everybody. I mean, you got Ioannidis who's going to get paid. I mean, pretty much the whole D line's going to get paid, and you're gotta pay Terry soon. Because he's a 4-year contract instead of a 5.
Ioannidis is going to get paid again too, which makes it even more impressive. But personally, I think you just got to sign Jonathan Allen to an extension, just because of the fact that he is not only is he a good defensive tackle for you, but he's also one of those leaders that you need to have on that D line, and definitely someone who Chase Young and all those guys on the D line can learn from. What I'm a little curious about, I guess, or a little worried about, is the fact that, you also have Daron Payne, who, I mean, he's also a guy that doesn't put up all the stats, but his value to the team can't be quantified in stats, right? Like, he's so good every single, especially this year. Like, I believe this is probably his best season so far in the league. He's always showing up. Matt Ioannidis, though, is the older guy in that group, so maybe you don't re-sign him, especially once he pushes closer to like 30 years old. I don't know. It's very tough, but I definitely think Jonathan Allen, out of those 3 guys, Jonathan Allen, Daron Payne, and Ioannidis, I think you got to keep Allen.
He's a local kid too.
Yeah, that is true. As far as defensive line goes, I feel like we may be able to re-sign the Matt Ioannidis to something cheaper than we may believe, just because of his age. And he secretly is hurt a lot. Like, I mean, almost as much as Brandon Sheriff has been hurt over these past few years. So he may go for cheaper than what we expect. But I agree with all y'all. It would be lovely to be able to keep everybody. In my opinion, though, Jonathan Allen, if we're talking about impact per dollar, he may be the least valuable out of the guys. But again, like you said, with the intangibles, the leadership, and in the locker room and all of that type of stuff, I mean, it's hard to replace that. So I don't know. It's a crazy conundrum. Just like Pedro said, I don't even really know what answer to give. I just can't wait to see what happens. I just want to fast forward and see how they do it, because I mean, it's really tricky. I mean, of course, like we spoke about earlier, Ryan Anderson getting off the books may help a little bit. And then if we re-sign Kerrigan or not, maybe that money can go, be split up amongst the other ones once we try to re-sign those guys. I don't know. But I definitely feel like Daron Payne, out of all the interior guys between him, Matt Ioannidis, and Jonathan Allen, I want Daron Payne to stay the most. That's the only thing I can say.
Okay. Corey?
Yeah, I mean, I've been a big John Allen fan, like, since he got here. Like I say, local product from Stonebridge, so knows the area, and we've seen over the last few years that local guys on this team have had some success. I mean, you think about D Hall, Josh Wilson was okay at best, but he did have a season where he was all right, like that first year he came here. So we've got
Kendall Fuller plays. Kendall plays better at home than he did for the Chiefs.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I forgot all about that one. Good looking out. So Daron Payne, he's good. He's good in situations, but I think at the end of the day, it's all about the intangibles and the ability. Y'all think about it. Y'all might not remember him. Kedrick Golston was a below average, slightly average lineman who was here, who was drafted in the 6th round in 2006 out of Georgia. He was here for 10 seasons. You can't replace what that does for a team. A guy that's been in there and seen so many things. You think about it. He had like 4 coaches. He went through 5 coaches. What was it? Gibbs, Zorn, the Shannies, and Gruden to the extent. So I mean, I don't know how you can replace something like that. And I think Jonathan Allen kind of reminds me of that. He could be a guy that could be here for years, as long as he doesn't give a Kevin Durant vibe off, and like, I don't ever want to go back home and everything like that. He might want to dodge, but if he wants to stay here, I think you need to give him the money to do that. I think Daron Payne right now would be the weakest link out of them. And Ioannidis, I mean, we've seen how how much this team had to step up after Ioannidis went. And don't forget, we got Big Tim Settle too. So, you know, so I think we would be good if we lost like one of those guys. But, you know, I think Deron Payne may be the weakest link out there, and not because of his ability, but because of the intangible, the skin tangibles, as Larry Michaels used to say.
Larry Michael.
Yeah, man. I love them all, though, man. You know, I don't think I've ever been able to say that about a defensive line in Washington. But
it's crazy how things have changed over the last couple of years. We were complaining about the defensive line for like what 3, 4, 5 years, and now it's just one of the best in the league. It's kind of
Ziggy Hood.
Ziggy Hood. Oh my God.
Lord.
Albert Hainsworth. Y'all might be young, but y'all might slightly remember him. Shoot.
I remember. I get made fun of it almost every month by my friends. I catch it. I catch
Haynes worthless, man.
What was buddy that came from the Broncos, the fridge when we with the nose tackle? I can't remember.
Knighton.
Terrence Knighton.
Terrence Knighton. Pop. There we go. Thank you.
Chris Baker.
He was actually
Chris Baker.
They were good. Baker and Pot Roast. Man, I was like, why didn't we sign Pot Roast? He would just plug up that line, man.
I miss those guys.
Year where I can't remember what year. It was like 2016-ish when we didn't re-sign Baker, Pierre Garçon, Deshaun Jackson. I was just like, man, come on.
And then our wide receiver core has never been the same since. But
what wide receiver core?
Exactly.
The wide receiver. The receiver.
That guy on the end.
I think we should. No, we definitely lucked out in the fact that we got Terry McLaurin. Because the fact that we drafted him in the 3rd round when we didn't have any receivers for so long. We just came off the bust of Doxson, and to get him in the 3rd round, man, that's really cool.
And we drafted him to play special teams. We were like, he could be a gunner. He's willing to block. He's willing to go make tackles in special teams. We're going to bring him in here to be a high character guy. Now he's one of the best receivers in the league. Performance.
One thing that's crazy is that, like, it's my personal feeling is that I don't know if we would have drafted Terry if we didn't draft Dwayne. So, you know, I don't know.
Good
point. Right? Yeah.
They did say that.
You know, I've heard it on a couple broadcasts, but, you know, they said, like, they talked to Dwayne Haskins, and, you know, he said that Washington asked him, what are some guys you want us to bring to you? And the first guy he said was Terry.
Out too.
I think that if they didn't draft Dwayne, maybe they would have still drafted Terry if he was, you know, it's a hypothetical, but still, like that. I don't know. Terry, like you said, if we didn't have Terry right now, that is just, you can't even think about it. You really can't. Like, it's just awful.
Some dark memories in DC have brought great players, because if you remember, just like Dwayne Haskins vouched for Terry McLaurin, the only reason we have Matt Ioannidis is Jay Gruden. Jay Gruden was the one beating on the table for us to get Matt Ioannidis, give him a chance, develop him, see what help him. And then Cole Holcomb, same thing. Yeah, so I mean, we've had, you know, not perfection, but we've had some very bright spots out of dark moments.
For sure. No.
And that was a bad draft, that 16 draft. That was a bad draft. Oh my gosh.
No.
Sua.
Oh my gosh. Sua Cravens.
Drops it. Josh Dropson, and oh my gosh, that draft was horrendous. I really do think Scott was drunk when he was drafting players.
I think as much credit that we give him as like a talent evaluator, like his drafting here was just not good. Like I think Brandon Sheriff was the best pick, but that was like an offensive guard. Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, you can't miss. It was Leonard Williams or Brandon Sheriff. I mean, it was like, you know, take one of the great ones.
And Kendall Fuller, he drafted Kendall Fuller in that draft too. So
that was a good one.
Yeah.
Remember the beginning of like his career and stuff, like Kendall Fuller. I believe it was his first season. Like everybody was roasting him. He was, I believe it was the Thanksgiving game. He got burnt on like in the game, and nobody like thought he was going to be a star or anything.
And I heard he tore his ACL in his at VTech. I don't know what year it was, but like
Mhm.
Chris Cooley was talking about it. It took him like a couple, like Chris Cooley thought that Kendall Fuller he wasn't gonna be a good. He thought it was a bad pick. He thought it was a bad pick, but then he didn't watch his freshman year tape, and his freshman year tape was the only year he was healthy. And it took him a while to get back, but once he was fully healthy, he really started to ball out for us.
Yeah. And I'm a big believer that corners need a year. I mean, I don't care how talented you are. I mean, look at Jeffrey Okudah for the Lions. Marshawn Lattimore had a great rookie season, but then, his sophomore season had a couple of bumps in the road. I mean, you just need time as a corner. That's one of the, I mean, of course, quarterback is the hardest position to transition to the NFL but corner is like very underrated, very difficult to make that transition. Once you have a different level of offensive schemes, game planning against your weaknesses, you have a different level of arm talent from the quarterbacks, different level of receiver route running. Because I mean, a lot of receivers in college just went off of pure athleticism. When you get to the NFL level, you have to deal with that freakish athleticism and great route running across the board. So I just believe corners just, usually take a year.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of see that with Trevon Diggs too. I think he has a lot of
Yeah.
potential. Getting burned a couple times, but
has flashes, has low moments, high moments. It just happens with corners.
Yeah. I know you guys, Rico and Pedro, have to go in a little bit, but before getting into like the preview of this upcoming matchup, I do want to spend some time talking about Logan Thomas, because this is something that I've definitely been like thinking of like the last couple of weeks, and with his sort of progression as the season has gone along, the hope he has. I know it's Corey's guy.
My man, y'all. That's my tight end. I tell you.
I still think he's a high-end tight end too, and we need to find a tight end one for us. But what do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. I think the thing with Logan Thomas is he hasn't been a tight end for a long time. I don't know what year it is. I think it might be year 3 of him being a tight end. So even though he's 29, he's really a lot younger in that, in terms of development. So I think we'll see. I still think, like you said, high-end tight end too, but it's really important to have, some good tight ends. And if you can get someone, at least, because the thing with our tight end core, you got Logan Thomas and then Sprinkle, Hemingway, like you do not want that. So if you can get someone that's on the same level as Thomas, or maybe draft someone in the 4th round, draft someone in the 4th round next year, I'm fine with Logan Thomas being our tight end 1 for half of next year, or even all of next year, to help develop the guy under him, and have that guy ascend to be the tight end 1. But at the same time, you got Logan Thomas right behind him, who can still get some decent amount of targets, because I still think he can be a solid tight end in this league.
And if we had a quarterback, I would say that we should go after someone like Kyle Pitts, because I've been watching a lot of highlights of him, and this guy can ball out, but
I'm scared.
At the same time, we don't have a quarterback, so I don't know.
I got to go against Cal Pitts this Saturday, so I'm a little worried about that. I'm not gonna lie. Georgia has a lot of injuries too, but I love Cal Pitts, even though he plays for Florida. Love him. But as far as Logan Thomas goes, on my end, I like him a lot. I agree that he's like a tight end 2 somewhere, high end tight end 2 though. Maybe a lower tier tight end 1. Yeah. My only problem with him is that he's just limited athletically. So even once he becomes a great route runner, hopefully if he develops into that, Scott Turner works with him. And I forgot the Carolina tight ends coach that we brought over. Was it Pete Honer, I believe?
Honer. Yeah, Hainer.
Okay, yeah. Thank you. I feel like they can work with him, and he can become a better route runner. And you never know, because George Kittle, if you really look at him, he's not really separating on his own accord. He's getting schemed open by Kyle Shanahan. So you don't necessarily have to be the most athletic guy on the field like a Travis Kelce to get open. So I mean, he could. We never know what his ceiling could end up being, but at the very least, we need to appreciate the fact that we finally have a tight end in the game where we don't hear his name every 3 plays from him giving up a edge rusher around him coming to make a stop in the backfield or a sack. I mean, as much as I love Jordan Reed and Vernon Davis and how they can help the passing game, they couldn't block to save their lives, and we finally don't have to hear about that this season. Between Ball, Logan Thomas and Jeremy Sprinkle, whenever they're in the game, we just don't hear about tight end blocking problems anymore. Now, if they can become better receivers, that would be very helpful. And Logan Thomas, you know, his hands are getting better week by week. That's noticeable. He's not separating more, but he's finding nice little spots to get open in the defense now. That's been improving. And, I mean, again, at the end of the day, as long as you can block, man, thank you. Because it's been really bad these past few years, man, as far as blocking goes. And that mess, you have to throw away a whole, like, 30 a playbook when your tight ends can't block. And Logan Thomas can at least do that, and I appreciate him for that.
Corey?
Yeah, man. I mean, echo what Rico said. Even about Reed and Davis, they couldn't stay on the field outside of blocking. They were never there. I mean, y'all remember we played Dallas in 15 on Monday night, and Tom Compton was in the tight end. Like, we legitimately showed our hand because they were both hurt. Like, Reed was hurt or was out of that game or something. So, you know, like you said, they can get schemed in, but Logan Thomas, that's my man. That's my tight end, right? I saw this when he was in Blacksburg. I said he'd be a good tight end one day. He's learning the position, although he is a little bit older. He's 29. I think he can do it because Greg Olson's career was redefined in his late 20s. And granted, he had a couple of years where he was a tight end, but they made that move, Carolina did, and he became one of the best targets for the premier target after Steve Schmith left for Cam Newton. So, I mean, Logan's looking like he's getting better with every game. They just got to give him volume, just there. And I think this game last game he showed his physicality. Like he was knocking brothers down. He forearmed people when he caught that ball. So, you know, but Sprinkle, my God, I don't know where to begin with that.
It's Voldemort at this point.
Oh my God,
he should not be named.
Oh Lord, I mean, every time he plays, it seems like the air should get a pass defense because he drops everything. So I don't know, man, but it is what it is. I like what they're trending, but they need to add another tight end. He'd be a great tight end too, but I don't think he's a starter in this league
for sure
long term.
I think Logan Thomas would perfectly be in that role that Vernon Davis occupied for like the last couple of years as that tight end too. That could potentially give you a spot start if your tight end one goes down. But no, I definitely agree with all your points. I see all the people in the comments. Don't want to leave you guys hanging. King Sean, I see the comments. AM Hunter, as always. Yuki. Yeah, thank you guys for supporting the channel and the video. But now, moving on to what we got next with the Giants. What do you guys think is going to happen on Sunday? Do you guys think we will win? We'll get our revenge off of the loss that we got a couple of weeks back with that questionable 2-point conversion call, or who do you think will be the key players, maybe key matchups that we should all look out for? What do you guys think?
So this is a tough one because, I mean, Giants play hard every week. I mean, they've got, you know, every week they barely lost the Bucks. They barely lost the Bucks, and it comes down to Daniel Jones. I mean, if you can get him to turn the ball over, you're most likely gonna win the game. And you know, we did that. I guess we got one turnover, but we got to get more than one turnover. We have to absolutely win the turnover battle. I mean, that is a huge key to the game, because if Kyle Allen goes out and has the game he had against the Giants, you know, last game, we're not going to win the game most likely. I mean, even though it was close, I mean, you can't have a fumble return for a touchdown and then a terrible, absolutely terrible pick. So, you know, I think it's going to be, you know, somewhat close, but you know, we dominated them in the second half of, I mean, I'm not going to say, you know, it was, I think, we scored 9 points and they scored 7, but really, like, that was just a fluky 7. They scored a fumble 6. So I think that we can build off of that. We have 2 weeks, you know, off the bye. We got 2 weeks of rest, and the Giants are coming off a Monday night game. They're a little bit banged up. I think we can squeeze this one out. We gotta limit the turnovers on our side. We gotta force some turnovers on Daniel Jones. We gotta get to the quarterback, and I do not want to see Daniel Jones have another 50-yard run again. No.
Yeah, well, at least Cole Holcomb's here, so that should help mitigate the chances of that happening. Because last time I think we were trying Landon Collins in the box, and I don't know, he just doesn't look before the injury, he didn't even look as fast as he used to look, even last year for us.
Even the TV camera got chuked out too. I don't know if you guys remember that from the game.
We only saw like the last 2/3 of Daniel Jones running. The camera didn't know what was going on either. But for me, as far as the matchup goes, I just have two main worries. First of all, the way the Giants played against the Buccaneers. I mean, it looked like they might have won that game, but Daniel Jones started Daniel Jones, and so what can you say? He eventually threw that game away. Maybe he can do the same thing against us, but who knows? But they played really well against them, especially defense-wise. Their defense is pretty underrated. And then my second biggest worry is Kyle Allen. I feel like the Cowboys game is pretty much the best you can get from him. Can he give us that again? And I don't necessarily feel like that Giants game with the 2 terrible turnovers is an average game for him. Because, I mean, a fumble return for a touchdown just isn't a typical game for anybody. But, I mean, at the same time, I'm just not sure on an average day when he's not at his best, can he give us much more than that? Those are my two worries. Kyle Allen's ceiling and how well the Giants actually looked against the Buccaneers.
Okay, that's fair. Corey?
Yeah. Well, the first thing is it's going to begin and end with number 8, I think. And DeRico's point, I brought this up when he first started. Last season, he was sacked an awful amount of times. I think it was about 3 or 4 sacks a game they were giving up, and I think he may have turned the ball over on average maybe once or twice a ball game. Say what you want to. I know one play does not win or lose a game. Kyle Allen cost this team 14 points.
No doubt.
However you want to look at it, right? He coughed up that ball, and then the defense, they turned around. It would have been a double digit at least, because it would have been in field goal range, right? So I chalked it up to a learning experience. But we've seen a lot of him. He has to play within himself. You have to activate this running game. It works, right? Yeah. What do I always say? Run the damn ball. That's what you got to do. Get behind your big guys and pound that defense into submission. You got to run and make them drag themselves off the field. I think as far as defense goes, it's containing Daniel Jones's legs. You will force a turnover out of him. Granted, I don't think we did that day, did we? We did. Okay. Yeah, we did. Yeah, that's right. Kendall Fuller had one in the red zone. Sorry. But you got to do that. It was Baker Mayfield who we didn't force a turnover against.
Broke the streak.
Right. But yeah, it's containing. It's making sure our 8 is moving on and their 8 is contained. I think, and this is our first look at in Washington how this team under Ron Rivera responds off bye week. Y'all know we've had some ugly games off the bye week in the last decade. It's been like you were like, what? Like, where did you guys go?
Week 1, bye week.
Yes, man, the bye week, Jiminy Christmas. So I want to see what they do off the bye. And put that game in the Meadowlands behind you and move on. You aren't the Buccaneers, and go out there and win. It's about this game right now. Don't worry about what happened on Monday night. So that's why I say it doesn't scare me that they were within 2 points. The defense is good. We've known this already. They've got a good defense. Patrick Graham is a good defensive coordinator. They've got talent on there. And then you got to worry about Darius Slayton. Just make sure he doesn't get in, Yeah. Put Kendall Fuller on them, and then they got a couple of other wide receivers. Golden Tate had a touchdown. So
Shepard.
I'm like, it begins with the quarterbacks because these quarterbacks are turnover machines. It don't matter. It don't matter. But so it just matter who makes the least turnovers.
Yeah. No, you guys all brought good points. My worry though, with what Corey just said at the end about the defense, and also what he said earlier about Antonio Gibson. I mentioned this in like my preview video for the last matchup between the Washington football team and the New York Giants. The Giants have a really stout defensive line that's led by Dexter Lawrence, Dalvin Tomlinson. Very stout defense. James Bradbury is also turning into a lockdown corner in this league, at least for this season, much like Kendall Fuller. That's where I like worry about Antonio Gibson having a very good game because of the fact that the Giants defense is actually kind of underrated right now, and they can hold teams in terms of both yardage and points. So I'm a little worried there in terms of Antonio Gibson because I believe he is sort of that X factor on that offense. If he goes off, then Washington has a very, very solid chance of winning. If he doesn't, very tough sledding. I do want to say this. Usually we split in terms of like the Giants games, and usually when we're at home, we play much better. So we're going to be at home now, I believe, and
With
hopefully,
fans.
with fans too.
Fans.
That's a definitely big factor in this game that we haven't had in previous games. And I think Terry needs to at least step up from what he had a couple weeks back because James Bradbury is once again turning into that lockdown corner. So hopefully Terry can put some work on Bradbury and actually produce this week compared to 2 weeks ago. Also, I don't know, Kyle Allen. I know Rico, you said this on the stream on Protect Sports' live stream a couple of days back, but about Kyle Allen and the Cowboys game being his best performance you could possibly see out of him. I don't know if I agree with that because of the fact that last year, when he played for Atlanta or against Atlanta, I believe it was his first start. He threw for 260 yards, 4 touchdowns. I'm not sure if it was Atlanta. It was one of the weaker teams in the NFL, but I believe he can show us much more. Although this week, once again, he's playing against a solid defense, the New York Giants. So I don't know how much he'll show us. It'll probably be comparable to what he showed us 2 weeks ago. So I don't know. It's going to be a tight game. I think because of the fact that Washington's at home, they're going to have fans. They lost the first game already against the Giants. I just think they're barely going to eke out the W, probably like 24-21.
Yeah. One thing that after you guys were talking, I realized one thing I worry about is the run game, which then, has a big effect on Kyle Allen because you do not want Kyle Allen to, have a bunch of throws. You want it to be at around, 30. I think he threw 42 passes against the Giants, and you don't want that. You want to establish a run game, and that's the thing I'm worried about because I think if we can limit Kyle Allen's, passes, to 28 to, 33, 35, maybe in that range, I think we can get this win. We got to limit those, and we got to get the run game going with McKissick, Gibson, and not Barber.
At the same time, though, maybe if those passes go to Antonio Gibson more and he gets involved in the pass game, maybe that could turn things around. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I don't know. Do you guys have to head out before I ask the last question, or what is?
Oh no, I can definitely do one more question.
Okay. Yeah. So just as a big picture sort of question, where do you see this team right now? Do you see this team as taking the necessary steps that they need to take in order to get to where they want to be in terms of being a perennial playoff contender, actually giving us Washington football fans something to cheer about consistently every single year, a team that the DMV could sort of rally around? Do you see this team taking the right steps right now? Do you see Ron Rivera as being that head coach that will be with us for the foreseeable future, that will lead us to the promised land? I don't know, one day. We'll see. But what do you guys think the state of the Washington football team is right now?
I mean, I'm always optimistic, and I think you have to be optimistic. You can't think your team. I mean, if you're thinking that that we're up for failure, I mean, it's not you can think that way, but you want to be optimistic. And I'm pretty optimistic. I think Ron Rivera is the right guy. I think he's done, you see our locker room versus the Cowboys locker room. I mean, you see how close our locker room is, especially after the Cowboys game. You saw Terry McLaurin step up, had that nice speech today in practice. I don't know if you guys saw the video, Morgan Moses, what he was saying. So I think that is moving in the right direction. I absolutely love our defense. I think our defense is, really starting to turn around. We don't have to touch anything on that D-line perfect right now. Our secondary, it's a little bit suspect, but, number one passing defense in the NFL right now. So I think add maybe a couple veterans on that, defense, but you got Cameron Curl, you got DeShazier Everett, and, both those players, different circumstances, but they haven't had a huge chance to prove themselves, and I think they could turn into solid players in this league. And, we'll see what happens with Landon Collins. But I think the defense, they're already ranked 4th right now in yards per game, 11th. Yeah, but, they're 6th in defensive efficiency, which is like the best stat to go over, 11th in points per game, going up against, some really good offenses. Besides the Cowboys and Giants, every single one of those offenses is one of the top in the league. I think the thing it comes down to is the quarterback position. That's what you're going to have to find out. And, whether it be in the draft or whether it be in free agency, you got to make sure you pick the right guy. And especially if you're drafting a quarterback, you have to make sure you're cautious with him. You have to make sure you develop him correctly, because if you whiff on a draft pick in the first round, then that's what's going to, cause us to be a failure, because that sets you back a couple of years. So, free agency, I think if we get a quarterback in free agency, whether it be, Dak, Stafford, if he becomes available, I think we could be a playoff team next year. We could be a playoff team this year, who knows? The division is terrible. The division is terrible. So I like the direction we're heading in, because, I've heard this a bunch of times before, but, before we really didn't have, all pro caliber players besides, Trent Williams. We got, Terry McLaurin, who's, he's going to be at least a perennial Pro Bowl player. You got Chase Young and Montez Sweat. We already know what they're going to do. Deron Payne, I think him as well. He's going to be really good in this league. And you got Cole Holcomb. We'll see how he does. Kendall Fuller. So I like the direction this team's going in. Just depends on the quarterback position.
I agree that well, first of all, I want to start with quarterback wise. I feel like just Ron Rivera just doesn't like anybody we currently have. Like, I feel like he threw Dwayne Haskins out there for 4 games to basically like, hey, Dan Snyder, he's not that good. Let me bench him. Yeah. I feel like he's doing something similar with Kyle Allen, even though, it doubles down for him, because it makes it look like he is trying to win right now. So he's not losing the locker room. But at the same time, it's the same guy that got him fired from Carolina. It's the same guy that went undrafted to his team. So he didn't even feel like wasting a 7th round pick on him. So, now he had his up and downs for Carolina. He looked better at the NFL level than what people projected coming out of college. But still, even before Kyle Allen started his first game for us against the Rams, it was like a report that said like he's being evaluated game by game. And Alex Smith could end up starting at some point this season. Like they were just betting on it. They're like, at some point, Kyle Allen's going to mess up. We're going to need to bring in Alex Smith. And then, of course, with Alex Smith being 36 years old, he's not the future. So I feel like Ron Rivera wants a quarterback in this draft. There's been reports that he's been sending scouts to QB's games to go, aggressively scout them and see which guy he may want the most. And I feel like even when in doubt, he may trade up in the draft. That's why I think you can possibly win this division and still get the quarterback you want. And then, like, a lot of people think, like, even if we draft a quarterback, what are we going to do about offensive line? I feel like it's not as bad as we think, because even against the Cowboys, the one position group they have that is healthy is their defensive line, and they performed very well with Cornelius Lucas stepping in for a hurt Jerron Christian, Morgan Moses doing his thing, Brandon Sheriff, he has his games where it's like, what's going on? But, usually he plays well. Chase Roullier is pretty decent. If we can just figure out the left guard spot, I feel like a young rookie quarterback could come in here and perform well, especially with the mobility that all of these guys coming out have. You say what?
Possibly Sadiq,
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Please. As long as he can stay. Sadiq is weird too, because I don't remember him being hurt in that LSU great,
Yeah.
like best offense of all time in college history season. I don't know what's going on at the NFL level, but you know, he just can't stay healthy. He came out the drive hurt, got hurt within what, like 1-2 plays for us. But so yeah, I think the offensive line isn't as bad as people think it is. Plus, we have the money to go get maybe a Joe Thuney at left guard if we have to. You know, the Patriots never pay their guys, so we can just offer them more money than offer Joe Thuney more money than the Patriots would be willing to give him. And then also like Ron Rivera not trusting quarterbacks again. I think flat out he didn't like these three guys even after he took the job. He was like, yeah, we need another guy. We need a QBX. This is not it. So I feel like he would be patient with a quarterback that he drafts, that his name is attached to, that his reputation is attached to. He was patient with Cam Newton. Cam Newton almost had as many interceptions as he had touchdowns. His rookie season, he had 17 interceptions, 21 touchdowns. Haskins was pretty much projected to do the same thing this year if he never got benched. And who knows, he may have gotten better at a certain point. So I feel like once he takes a guy he likes that he feels like is perfect for his team, he'll be patient with them. And I feel like we don't have much to worry about because like y'all said, our defense is better than what we expected. I feel like all we have to do is just get at least one more great receiver, free agency or draft. And with the draft, so far, some of the best wide receivers in the league recently have been coming outside of the first round. So it's no pressure to get one in the first round. So I feel like we can address all of that in this next offseason draft, free agency, and actually be and then the division is weak. So it's just like we can at least have a stronghold in the division by next year if we approach the offseason correctly.
Yeah. Corey?
Couple things. So like offensively, yeah, and I said it before, Kyle Allen, he's not the answer. He'd be the future backup quarterback for all I want to because he's good in that he knows the system, right? You know, and like kind of what Rico was talking about, like the locker room, to save the locker room, you know, if they can see through that. Like if this is a hose job, I think this team would fall apart. And the one thing that I'm encouraged by is that we don't hear any leaks coming out of the locker room about strife. So to me, that means that something is being done right. Because, you know, everybody's got social media. Everybody's got everybody's cell phone number now, right? So, like, it takes one text message from Jonathan Allen to Ben Standick to be like, hey, this is crap going on, right? Just in general. But I think this team, it has a lot of potential. You know, we've got a couple of contracts coming up. Chase Roulier, Brandon Sheriff, those guys, their contracts are done after this year. And then, you know, you have the question at left tackle. So you're going to have to solidify that interior line, those interior line spots. All three of them probably is Keith Ishmael. Is he one of the guys that you drafted this past draft? Is he going to come in there? We haven't heard anything about him. Is Wes Schweitzer your future at left guard for the short-term future, right? Are you going to add another running back with Antonio Gibson? Because we've seen it before. Teams that win Super Bowls, they're not having 1,000-yard running backs. They have some guys that come in and do specific things. You know, you look at Damian Williams last year. He could catch and run. He didn't even have 600 yards rushing on the ground. I think he had a quarter of his total yardage on the ground in that Super Bowl game or something like, or throughout the playoffs, throughout the season. So, you know, I'd like to see us add another running back, get a left tackle. I want to draft left tackle. Everybody's talking about quarterbacks. I want left tackle. Clearly, this team is incapable of developing a young quarterback. I don't want to bring a rookie quarterback in here and then feed him to the wolves, because we've seen this. We failed with Dwayne. We failed with RG3. We failed with Patrick Ramsey. That's for you old dogs. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Lord, did I make Natu that? He didn't like the Patrick Ramsey comment. But, you know, we've just failed at quarterbacks. So go out, like we said, Dak, if he's available, he'll be 27. That's not old. That is a good age for a quarterback. It could be almost like a Drew Brees type thing. I'm not comparing them to, but just the situation, how it lays out. So develop. If you're gonna because we're rushing these young quarterbacks all the time. Defensively, I think we've got a lot of promise there in the secondary. Pearl, DeShazer Everett's old, but he's not old enough, so he's kind of like hitting his stride finally. Yeah, he's developed. Yeah, so he was a special teams guy, but now he's at starting free safety. I think the linebackers can improve a lot more. I'm trying to figure out where's Sean Dion Hamilton. He's nowhere to be found, and everybody was talking about him like he was the second coming or something at the linebacker spot. I think what's the future of special teams? We got the punter, but Dustin Hopkins, y'all. Come on now, we got to put him on notice. We've got to, because that's unacceptable. He has, and it's okay to get rid of him. I know you want to reward loyalty, but you can reward loyalty that is effective, not leaving points on the ground all the time.
So
he missed the field goal kick against the Giants.
Then one thing, I think our offensive line, like Rico said, is a lot better than we think, because just think about this, okay? So left Sadiq, I think he's going to be not really good, but I think he's going to be a Pro Bowl type player. I mean, even though it was only 2 snaps, he looked good in those, and I think Ron really believes in him, and I think you can slide him over to left tackle. You put him at left tackle. Schweitzer's played pretty good this year. I think he can be an okay guard, whether you put him at left guard or right guard, because, depending on if we re-sign Brandon Sheriff, I think our O-line is better than people think. It's going to be interesting to see with our wide receivers, because Terry, we already know he's a stud, but then what's the deal with Steven Sims, Kelvin Harmon, AGG? You have to find out, at least with Steven Sims, before this year, because those guys have potential, but because if Steven Sims doesn't show you a decent amount, who knows what you do in free agency. But if Steven Sims shows he's a stud, then maybe you don't have to go after a big name in free agency, because Steven Sims quietly, in the first couple of games, he had over 50 yards in both of them, and I think the first game he got targeted 3 times, and it was 3 catches for 52 yards. So Steven Sims, I'm going to be interested to see what he does. And, AGG this year is kind of it sucks, but this year is overall kind of a wash for AGG, because no off season, really, besides training camp. Started the year off, he had an injury in training camp, rookie quarterback second year quarterback, and then has an injury that's probably going to be out for a while. So,
Yeah.
I mean, and don't forget Bryce Love.
Yeah.
Where is the love, man?
No, I was cut off for the last couple of points that you guys made. Sorry, my Wi-Fi is just not working right now. But
college.
College.
Yeah.
But having said that, I do have in terms of the overall state of the team, I mean, there's just 6 sort of position groups, I guess, that we need to get more info, I guess, on, and we will get more info on as the season progresses. I mean, you guys touched on this. First and foremost is the quarterback situation. We need to find out if Kyle Allen will be a backup, if not even better than that for us. I don't believe that. I know you guys don't. Yeah. But we need to figure that out, of course, and we probably will over the next couple of games. I also think we should get a great left tackle, or just other tackle that we need, largely because of the fact that I think Sadiq Charles will start off at the left guard position. And if everything went our way, we would have had Sadiq Charles start off at left guard this year and played a couple games, and then maybe potentially vie for that left tackle spot next year. But I just think with him being injured all the time so far this season and him not getting enough reps, I just think we should go after another solid tackle, at least to give us insurance there. I think we should get a great tight end. The tight end group, outside of the quarterback group, I think is going to be the most pivotal in terms of something that we need to address in the offseason, largely because of the fact that no matter what quarterback we have, we're probably going to have a young quarterback, and a young quarterback's best friend is a solid tight end. And if we go after a solid tight end one, maybe in the draft, I don't know if we can do Kyle Pitts, because of the fact that we would have to draft him pretty early, or maybe get someone later in the draft. or maybe even get someone in free agency if there are any good guys, any good tight ends. I just think we need to solidify that position for that young quarterback that we probably will have next season. And then the receiver group. We have Terry, and then we have the rest of the guys. And the rest of the guys are just rest of the guys at this point. We don't have any sort of star talent alongside Terry, and not even star talent, but like above average talent alongside him. I don't believe we do. Steven Sims, I know he's coming back, but I just don't think he's the answer, guys. Wasn't he benched before he got injured?
The game against Cleveland, he played it. He played the game, but he was dealing with that toe injury, so they only used him really for the punt returns, and they didn't target him a single time. And like I asked John Kime, and he said like he was playing injured, and then after that week they deactivated for the put him on IR first. So I think, like you said, Sims isn't really a star guy, but I feel like if you give him some time, I don't know if you were cut off or not when I said it, but the first 2 games of the season, got targeted 3 times week 1, 52 yards, targeted again, barely any. In the second game, had over 50 yards. So I think he can be a guy that gets you like 600 to 800 yards. Not saying he's going to be a Pro Bowl player, but I think he can be maybe a Jameson Crowder type production player for you. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I still think regardless, you need to get another solid receiver, and I think we have a boatload of cap room. We can go after a guy like, I think this would be the dream, but Kenny Golladay is out there in free agency, and oh my gosh, if we got him alongside Terry, that's already giving that young quarterback that we're probably going to have next year some talent around him, and just something you definitely need. And then we have to see what we got at safety, right? Landon Collins is out for the season right now, and Cameron Curl hopefully steps up, maybe secures one of those safety spots for the foreseeable future. If not, remain a high-end backup. Regardless, we're going to see a lot about that position as the games progress and as we go along with the rest of the season. And then lastly, I think we should probably get a linebacker. I know Cole Holcomb is there, and Cole Holcomb does offer a lot of talent. He's probably going to be here for a long time. Kevin Pierre-Louis is actually someone who I think is kind of underrated. He's actually been playing some solid ball so far this season. I just don't – Corey knows this. I don't believe in John Bostic.
Resign Bostic.
I really – no. He's just – even before this whole headshot thing with Andy Dalton, I just did not believe in John Bostic.
His coverage is terrible.
I know. It's just – I know last year a lot of talk was around the fact that he had over 100 combined tackles, I think, and people thought he was better than what he was, but there's a reason. Rico,
those tackles come 3-4 yards down the field.
Exactly. And also there's a reason why he never started when he was on the Steelers, right? When he was on a solid defense.
How many teams has he been on though? Think about that. That'll answer your question.
Yeah.
He's been on 16. He's been on 6 teams, and he's been in the league since 2013. So, I mean,
there you go.
Yeah. So Bostic is.
I think I gotta go, man. But thank you for having me on. Appreciate it. It was fun. Hopefully we can do it again. And yeah, I think overall, we didn't talk about it, but I still think we have, a solid chance at winning this division. I think it's gonna come down. I've looked at the schedule, both of our schedules, the Eagles and us, and every time I do it, it comes down to that last game. Yeah. Just because even if we get to 6 wins before the last game of the season, which would be really hard to do, they have that tiebreaker on us with that tie. So it's gonna come down to that last game of the season, really, in my opinion, unless we collapse or they collapse, because I think we're gonna beat the Cowboys again. We should beat the Giants. We'll win. We'll split against the Bengals and Lions, and who knows with the 49ers, we could still win there with Jimmy G being out for the year now.
Whole team,
George Kittle being out for that game probably too. So that could be a win that we didn't think we could have, and who knows with the Panthers. So I think getting to the playoffs is going to help your establish a winning culture.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, man, thanks for having me.
Thank you, Pedro.
Yeah, peace.
Thank you for coming on.
Pedro.
See you, Pedro. Good seeing you, bro.
Good night.
Yeah. But any concluding thoughts, guys, before we wrap up?
I mean, yeah, I definitely think the future is bright for this team. I think Ron Rivera is a nice new era. And I think our team isn't as bad as a lot of people feel like. And in the John Bostic thing, man, all offseason that people in my comments talking about, bro, he's gonna start, he's gonna be great, man. I couldn't even reply to him because I was like, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know. We've been watching the same games, but clearly we are getting different evaluations from it. I do like him as a backup, but him starting the middle linebacker, I already knew when the first game of the season, I was like, this is not going to go well. And then we've seen what happens. Even, I mean, like you said, excluding the hit on Andy Dalton, he just hasn't been good in coverage. If it's a wide open space tackle, him one-on-one with a running back, I don't expect him to make that tackle. So yeah, man, I definitely agree that we probably should figure out something with linebacker. I would love Jabril Cox. I forgot what school he played for in 2019, but it was like a super lesser known name school. Then he transferred to LSU this year. So now everybody's going to know about him. So we may not get him as late in the draft as I hoped, but hopefully we can end up getting him. I think he's really talented. I think he's basically another guy from the Colts. Darius Leonard. I think he's basically a similar comp to that. Small school guy. Well, technically not now that he plays for LSU. He's only going to be there for like a year rental though. And just freakishly athletic and a lot of potential, but people just don't know about him because he played at a lesser known school, but plays for LSU. Probably going to go in the first, second round now. I'm sad about it, but we'll see.
What about Parsons? I haven't really kept track of what's going on, but is Parsons maybe a guy that we could look at in the draft?
Oh no, he's a great talent, but I mean, with the opting out thing, it's hard to tell if his stock will rise or lower. But he's extremely talented. I definitely first round pick, maybe top 10. We'll see. In my opinion, I think that's where he'll go, just based off of the tape he put out the previous 2 years. But we'll see. I mean, honestly, this COVID thing, no idea.
Crazy, yeah.
Corey?
I have a hard time just evaluating this season though, because I know there's a lot to be done with this team to make it competitive. I think that we've got a lot of holes, and we could make the playoffs. I'm looking at one game at a time. I'm not schedule watching or comparing anything to anybody else. I always say on my channel, we got to eat what's in front of us, right? And that's what the Giants. Don't worry about Detroit and the Bengals because you could slip up on those two cats. Mm-hmm. And I think there's opportunities to be had with this team, but I want them to build the culture, and we can see it. Yeah. Patience. That's what we need to have. I don't think we want everything now. I've seen short-term glory. I saw it in 2012. I saw it in 2015. I saw it in 2007 and 2005. I've seen short-term glory. Mm-hmm. I'm ready for sustainability. We've seen sustained losing for 2 decades plus. It's time for us to see. And I think Ron Rivera is the guy, now that he has the cancer treatments put behind him and everything. I think he can focus on being the leader that this team needs. I still think we need to get a general manager or something, some guy, and it might be Kyle Schmith. I don't know, but we do need somebody who is constantly saying, well, we might need to make this move. Oh, we have a deficiency there. Not just sit on our hands and be like, oh crap, we don't know what to do. Kind of like what we did in 2017 when we had all those injuries on the line and everybody's like, oh God, what's going on? Let's go get Tyler Catalina. Who? So I just want to see a sustained culture that's winning. I think we're tired of losing, but it does need a little bit of patience there, yeah.
Yeah, totally agree there. Just take it one game at a time. We got the Giants this week. Like you said, can't look past our opponent, even if the Giants are putrid right now. We're putrid too, so just got to go in there and give it a
win, man.
Exactly. And if we make the playoffs, if we don't make the playoffs, regardless, we need to address the many needs that we have. I think we will. We have a boatload of cap room, a bunch of draft capital. Yeah, like we could address a lot of needs in a very short amount of time this offseason. So I think the future is looking up for us. I know we've said that in previous years, but I really believe it this year. I really believe everything outside of this season is sort of going our way, and we're in a weak division. So Rico mentioned this early in the stream, but we're in a weak division. It only takes a couple of needs to be addressed in order for us to sustain some success in this division.
I mean, the future of the Cowboys and Eagles with their cap space situations are terrible. I think this is they're past their best days, at least for the next, I believe, 3 to 5 years. Their best days are behind them. I think we're only really competing with the Giants just off of cap space, unless the Eagles and Cowboys just have immaculate drafts. Other than that, I think it's between us and the Giants who have the best future in the division. But we'll see.
Promise, yeah, it's all the promise that we have going forward, because I mean Carson Wentz has fell off bad, boys. He has fallen off bad. I didn't even know who that guy was that was on the field on Sunday night. I mean, I thought, like, the Eagles, they've always been the class of the NFC East for like the last 20 some years, right? Besides a couple of, and I'm sitting there looking like, it's gonna click for him, right? He's gonna start clicking again, no matter what it is.
Yeah. You just kind of expect it out of the Eagles. Eventually, it works out for them. Yeah,
man,
not for him.
I don't know. Yeah, it's awful, bro. I'm like, I don't feel sorry for him but I love it. It couldn't happen to a better sports city. So.
Yeah. Oh, I'm right with you. Boy, I'm right with you.
My gosh.
Dude,
yeah, but them Riots after winning the Super Bowl after they were ruining people's businesses, I'll never forgive them for that, man. Never.
They cursed their own doggone city. Yeah.
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 Bro.
No, I again agree with you guys. I think definitely had a good place in this division. We haven't been able to say that for a long time. So thank you guys for joining the stream. I think that's probably going to wrap it up. Thank you for everyone joining in the chat. I see you, Redskins Bay. I see you, King Sean, Baby Glock, Gregory,
up,
Hunter, MH, all you guys. Asan, I know Asan had to go, but no, thank you guys all for joining. Thank you, Rico, Corey, for joining the stream.
Appreciate
Thanks
it.
Thanks a lot, man. This is the first official stream on the DMVSportsZone channel. It's a very small channel,
Yes.
but always glad to have guests on here, especially some big names in the Wasp football team community. So appreciate you guys again for being on here. But
appreciate you.
Yeah, it's probably gonna be it.
Thank you, man. And hey, man, I mean, the fact that you would ask a question and let all three of us answer, you would come forth and you still found a way to say something else. I commend you on that.
Man. Great moderator, bro. Great moderator.
Great. Yeah, man.
Appreciate it. Hope you guys have a good rest of your night. Hope everyone stays safe and get these election results fast.
Yes, sir, man. Yeah. Stress.
All right. See you.
See you guys.
Thank you, man. Great show.